Okay, let's be honest with ourselves. We all knew I was going to put home in last place, despite the amount of writing I was doing during the homesick ARG days. This episode is widely regarded as the worst episode of the show, but it's not all terrible. I personally stand by the belief that there's not a single bad episode in the show. Home just happened to get the short end of the stick. Starting with the positives, this episode probably introduces us to two of my favorite characters in the whole show, Sin and Tessa. Sin's sadistic personality and Tessa's rebellious nature immediately made me love their characters. It's one of the reasons why the whole Tessa twist made me really disappointed, but we'll get to that later. This episode also has some decently good jokes, but that's also where the problems start to arise. The jokes in this episode, while they can get a little chuckle out of me, break all the tension that this episode had going for it. The setting of a mansion could have given us some great scares, but this episode was kind of lacking in that department. Character-wise, this episode doesn't really have anything special going for it either, besides Sin and Tessa, of course. It was cool to see Jay get some more spotlight, but like the majority of the show, her time is short-lived. V was also quite disappointing in this episode as well, with her being the one trying to hide the past from N. She doesn't really do anything about it herself, as the Solver is controlling her throughout the episode, leaving her with like, what, 2 lines? Worst thing about this episode for me has to be how confusing it is on the first watch. The whole idea of Uzi going through their memories had my head spinning the whole time. Are these their real memories? Is this how things actually went down? But how could that be the case if Uzi is directly here interfering with things? And clearly, I wasn't the only one who was confused. I mean, if I had a nickel for every time a YouTuber said what when they got to this episode in the reaction series, I could buy the moon. Don't even get me started on that terrible cliffhanger. Overall, while again this is my least favorite episode in the series, it still has that Murder Drone's charm to it. I'd give the episode itself 6 Frumptal Buckets out of 10. Episodes 2 and 4 were kind of difficult for me to place, but